What is going on, everybody? It is Friday, and this is the Tim Warren Show, last show of the week before we have a nice long weekend. It's August 15th, and the crypto markets are continuing to pull back. Yesterday, we had a video that went out. We used the word crash, crypto crash. People have been in the comment sections over the last 24 hours saying, Tim, this is not a crash, and that is true. When you make YouTube content, and you're trying to get it out to the most people who are afraid of the word crash, it's one of the best ways to put it out there. But I do agree this is not a crash. It is a pullback. And the question on everyone's brain is this pullback almost over, or is it going to get worse and worse before it gets better? And in today's video, we're going to talk about what that looks like. Is this actually just a bear trap? What is the manipulation at play, and how do we identify it to make sure we don't fall for these types of traps, whether they are to the upside or downside? We're looking at a lot of altcoins and look at where the next best buying spot should be for the majority of the rest of this run in the bull market. If you're excited about it, make sure right now to smash that like button and hit subscribe. We don't have as many things necessarily planned for today, so we probably will have some Q&A at the end of the show if we have time remaining. So make sure over there in chat, be active. We are live right now. Be active, and maybe your question gets read. But before we get into the details of today's show, let's go ahead and wow, that is a brain fart right there. That's where you clip it. See, and now go back, Smay, edit it out. Let's introduce the rest of the team here, everybody. I got Smay, I got Shrum. I'm having a brain fart. I'm getting some water. Smay, how are we feeling today?
Tim, I'm feeling great, and I'm very excited to dive into today's content. We're going to be talking all things crypto, all things market, and all things exciting in the world. Tim, let me just say this, too. I am very much so looking forward to football season. It is right around the corner.
Yeah.
And for those bros that are in our the fantasy football league, sorry, I got caught up on the word bros. Okay, I want to make sure I said it right. For us, Tim Warren affiliated folk that are going to be involved in the fantasy football league, I'm very excited.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. Yeah, we're gonna close it off. We now have so many members over in Discord. It is gonna be for some of our members only. But if you are already one of our, I think we have like 2 or 3 slots left. If you're already one of the members in the VIP trading group and you want to be a part of the fantasy football league, if you don't see an option in there somewhere, DM me in Discord. I will get you in there. Otherwise, it's gonna be a lot of fun. Been a lot of fun. I've got invited this week, Smay. I don't know about you, to like 5 different fantasy football leagues. I can't do all of them.
I'm currently in 3. I am in 3.
Yeah, that's a lot. Speaking of being in 3 fantasy football leagues, the biggest football fan of them all, Shrum over here. How are we doing today, my friend?
Oh, man. I'm feeling like a touchdown is not too far away for crypto. Yeah. I think this is a really interesting time. You know, a lot of people's bags are swelling with profits for the first time in a while. But you have some questions. Are we topping out? Are we going to go lower? You know, hopefully we'll answer a lot of those today. I know that I have some of those questions for myself. Very, very interesting times.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one. We got a lot of things to talk about on the show here today, talking about the manipulation. I'm going to give a lot of coins, not a whole lot. We have 5 coins. I picked them today. Today's Tim's selection of what coins we're looking at, but spots that I'm looking at to buy for some of these altcoins during this pullback. If you guys are ready for that, let's get into it. There was a chat here. Wait for it says Tim has been hitting the gym. That's probably why I had that brain fart earlier. I have been hitting the gym very consistently this week, but I'm very sore also. I'm very tired. Today I was doing chest and triceps, and this is how sore I am. My back is tired. I don't even know why my back is tired from chest and triceps. Probably from leg day 2 days ago. Well, that was a lot of fun as well. Let's get people ask all the time, what are my lifts? What are my numbers at? I'm going to keep it a secret unless we hit 500 likes. Let's get 500 likes. Wow. And at the end of the show, I'll tell you guys when I'm hitting in the gym, give you a little workout routine. Yeah. Well, I mean, PRs are old. I haven't hit a PR in a long time. That was a young man's game to hit PRs, but I still throw some weight around. I still throw some weight around. Huh?
Are you saying working sets numbers or just like, what do you mean by that?
Well, You know what? Let's get 500 likes or the whole conversation is moot. So 500 likes and we'll talk weights at the end of the show.
Just ask a bunch of super specific clarifying questions.
Let's just spend the rest of the show clarifying what happened.
I'm only on the show for like 5 minutes, guys. I got to get it in. Okay. Anyways, speaking of that.
Oh, my gosh. All right. Guys. Well, real quick, I'm going to go and get this out earlier in the show. This episode of the Tim Warren Show is brought to you guys by Kinesis, one of our new partners. It is a great exchange with extremely cheap fees at buying cryptocurrency. Yes, there's one word that everyone hates in crypto. We love the freedom of money. We hate paying fees. Well, you have to do it. So if you want a place to pay cheap fees as an on-off ramp to buy cryptocurrency, Kinesis is your selection. Also over there, you can buy digital gold and digital silver and be rewarded for holding it long-term in actual gold and silver. If that excites you, if you're a diversifier, check out Kinesis right now. Let them know that the Tim Warren group sent you over there. And I think they have some special stuff for you as well. So go check them out in the link down below. And say thank you, by the way, for sponsoring the show, keeping the lights on, keeping the employees paid, and keeping the content rolling. Let's get into our market update here. We're going to throw it back to something we used to do a while ago, and that is going to the crypto bubbles chart. Let's go to my screen here, Smay. It's a sea of red for most of the day here. Couple of outliers. AERO still in the green, up here 4%. Over here, hiding behind my face, another coin in the top 100 that's green, Soros. If I go ahead and pull that one over, flares up 11%, MNT, Mantle is up 5.9%. Other than that, a lot of red here today. Some of the biggest losers, Arbitrum, but that makes sense because Arbitrum, it was one of those coins we listed on Wednesday. It had a pretty nice week. It was one of my top performers for the week. So the higher you rally, the harder you can fall during pullbacks just like this. Fart going's down pretty much, pretty good size there. ENA, Curve, Injective over here is down 7.3%. But as a whole, a lot of similar sized bubbles here. And that means as a whole, people probably are just removing some profits from their entire portfolio, not necessarily picking on one particular coin too much itself. Let's go ahead and take a look at what's happening over on Bitcoin. Of course, you guys remember we just hit new all-time highs yesterday. Is that yesterday? Is this backed up? Yeah, I guess the 14th. It was like the night before, actually. It was the night before we went up here to 124. Yesterday, we started pulling back down here. Today, we have continued that pullback. And stick around because we will talk about here later in the show some good levels and reasons why I do think that the top is not in for these markets. But I am about to get into some bearish technical analysis for you. I don't create the technical analysis. I don't impact the technical analysis. I just look at the charts. I look at the indicators. I tell you what they're saying. So don't get mad at the messenger when I show you some bearish looking things over the next couple of minutes. But I'm going to give you some light at the end of the tunnel here in a couple of minutes because I do believe it's only a short-term pullback before we go back to the upside. But Bitcoin pulling back here. We told people yesterday in our video, don't be surprised on the short end to see levels around the 8-hour chart be hit for support. We did that yesterday, and now we've broken that down, which leads us out towards a daily chart sell signal. We have out here on the Bitcoin chart, and actually a lot of altcoins as well, they'll have some daily sell signals or close to daily sell signals. There's actually not a bearish reversal dot, but what you do have in this case is what we call bearish divergence. I don't know why Luxalgo is not printing this out with a red line like it normally does, but technically speaking, go back to these highs we had back here on July 15th, about exactly 1 month ago. You can see clearly price action on the daily chart has closed a higher high. Meanwhile, look at the RSI, look at MACD, look at the Lux Algo Oscillator. We put in lower highs. That's what we call bearish divergence. That's a reversal indicator. We also have a bearish momentum dot right here that printed yesterday, and we have negative money flow. What does that carry us down to? Well, that would suggest right there that the next stop for Bitcoin could be back down. People are not going to want to hear this. It could be back down towards 112,000. I'll tell you why in a little bit that could potentially not end up happening, but it is something you want to keep your eyes on. And of course, because of this move, something we tracked earlier this week, there was a temporary green dot on the weekly chart, but that dot's gone. We're still not closing any new weekly highs. We have this wick, but that wick looked a little like a fake out. If the markets can't get bullish again very soon, you're back on this weekly sell signal potential. It's been a little bit of a ride right now, but you still have that red reversal. You still have bearish divergence. You still have a bearish momentum dot. And that money flow on the weekly chart is still bleeding out right now. That's still going to leave a potential pullback on Bitcoin all the way back down towards $100,000. Now, the good news of this is that altcoins, for the most part, are not feeling this same weight. There is a couple coins out there. Maybe XRP is a coin to keep an eye on, where you do still see a red reversal dot, bearish momentum, and negative money flow. That could bring XRP's prices back here towards $2.20. That's definitely possible. I don't think it's going to happen, but I think it's absolutely possible. For Bitcoin, though, I would be revisiting and looking at, in the short term, the daily smart trail right here and saying 112, 113 Bitcoin. Do not be surprised if that actually ends up happening. And again, if things get worse, I don't know if it's going to for sure, but I want you prepared. 100K Bitcoin's not off the table still at this point. You can cry about it. You can fuss about it. You can be upset about it, or you can view that as an opportunity overall. Now, there's one other thing on the Bitcoin chart I'm going to save for the end of the show. We're going to get back to that at the end of the show. It's one of my reasons why I still am very bullish, and I do not believe the top is in for Bitcoin or Ethereum or altcoins in general. But I want to save that for later in the show, so stick around, smash that like button. Let's get those 500 likes up, and we'll have some fun conversation at the end. Reasons, other charts we need to keep an eye on here. This is actually one, even though this is a section where I'm kind of telling you about pullbacks happening, things that we could revisit over the weekend. Bitcoin dominance continues to trend to the downside. Yeah, we have a little bit of a bullish candle here today as we're moving to the upside, but we're not seeing Bitcoin dominance run back up here as crypto is falling. What does that mean? It overall means people, for the most part, are taking more profits out of their Bitcoin holding than Ethereum and their altcoins, right? So that is a very good sign that this is a temporary pullback and that we should be rallying sooner rather than later. Another thing I think we need to cover here, and this is a little bit different. I don't usually cover this chart during the market updates. I'm probably going to skip the Dixie today because there's a couple other things we need to take a look at here. Yesterday, there was some misinformation out there. If you heard it yesterday, I want to be very clear here. We didn't do live shows on Thursdays. Otherwise, I would have covered this yesterday. I heard a lot of people claim that yesterday we closed the Bitcoin CME futures gap. If you don't know what the future CME gap is, let me explain it very quickly, and then I'll explain why we did not close it. So last Friday, a week ago, almost to the hour here, we closed on Bitcoin at 116,900. We opened the day on Friday up here at 117,750, but we closed all the way down here. However, when we opened the markets back up on Monday, and I know Bitcoin trades 24/7, but CME futures trades with the stock market. Okay, so that's what the big important detail is here. When we opened up on Monday, we opened up all the way up at 119,145. What that means is all of the open orders that were filed between these prices of the close on Friday and the open on Monday, there were potential buy or sell signals in that zone that were completely skipped. And what this leaves us is a big gap that a lot of times we do see markets come back, fill those orders, remove that gap, and then you can shoot back up to the upside, right? Well, yesterday, we wicked down all the way back towards 117,585, and I saw a lot of comments of people on X saying that the gap had been closed. Go ahead and buy your Bitcoin right now. Up to the upside. Here we go. I'm not throwing anyone under the bus. I'm not particularly picking out one person and saying this person is terrible. This is a common thought I see all the time, that if you wick down to the level of the candle of the Friday, that you've now completely covered the gap. That's not the case. To get there, you need to get down to the bottom of where the Friday candle closed. So in this case, again, even though Friday opened at 117,700, it didn't close until we were all the way down below 117,000 on the CME futures. So for that reason, it doesn't matter that Bitcoin on Coinbase or Binance or Kraken dropped below 117,000. We need the Bitcoin CME futures to drop below. And here's just the harsh reality is we still have not closed this gap as we are speaking right now. And we only have an hour, maybe a little less. Does it close at 4 or 4:30, Shrum?
What? The market's
Clarification. The 4 o'clock. Okay, so we have 45 minutes. 45 minutes until we actually have the close here, and we have not closed this gap. What that implies is I wouldn't be surprised if over the weekend we either hover, maybe we get a little bit of a rally, but maybe we come down lower and we're actually working on closing out all these orders sometime early next week. That could change while we're live here. We could see Bitcoin fall while we're live and then close that gap, and then maybe the weekend turns bullish once again. But of course, that would then create another gap. That would be another problem. So let's maybe potentially hope that we just kind of hover here for the weekend and then we shoot up to the upside next week. Anyway, though, the big important detail here is I already told you on Bitcoin, there's daily sell signals, there's weekly sell signals that would suggest we need to come down lower. But even if you're just saying, man, Tim, I think that we just need to close the gap and then we're going back to the upside. Well, we have not closed the gap just yet. It's not that easy. Make sure to utilize this. When you're thinking in the future and you see these gaps, don't look at where the candles opened. Again, in the past, like this one, for example, I had that actually in the wrong spot. Make sure it's where they close. Wherever the candle closed, that's where the bottom of the gap is. So that's a little bit of education I wanted to help you guys with. It's another thing that's kind of bearish. Bottom of this pullback, probably not over. Now let's take a look at some other things here. Ethereum. This is actually a pretty good sign overall. Bitcoin's been pulling back. ETH, it kind of really hasn't had as big of a flinch as Bitcoin has. You can see Bitcoin, decent little correction here over the last 2 days, taking away some gains we had over the last week. Ethereum, it's way smaller. When you look at the same time frame of rallying for Ethereum, a way smaller pullback. That doesn't change the fact that, again, like I said yesterday in our video, I said, look at the 8-hour smart trails. There are some sell signals, some big bubbles to be popped here on the 8-hour chart. We have red reversals, big bearish dot, and massive bubble on the money flow. You see that light red, excessive buyers leaving the space. I said the 8-hour smart trail would be a target to watch somewhere around 43.3. You know, we could go lower towards 42.6, but that zone was going to be very interesting. Well, this is leading us over on Ethereum, and we're going to talk about altcoins here as well. A lot of altcoins are now starting to print because of today's and yesterday's pullbacks, daily sell signals here. Red reversal, bearish momentum, negative money flow. All of a sudden, you forget just 42.60, and you're now saying, man, is 38 back on the table? To which I want to be very clear here. Some of you are going to say, oh my gosh, Ethereum below 4,000. Once again, this bull market sucks, and it's never going to make new all-time highs. Calm down. Rest. Take a deep breath. Because when you look at this, look at how ETH has been moving since back here in June. It is higher highs and higher lows. A pullback back down here towards 3,900 would simply be coming back towards a level of resistance set back here in late July, turning it into support. It also would not be a major problem when you look at Fibonacci, as the golden pocket is right in that zone. And as long as you don't lose the golden pocket of a pullback, you're sustaining a pretty strong bullish move to the upside. So right now, that is what I'm looking at for Ethereum. We're looking at it later in the show. We're going to look at some other altcoins that you might be interested in buying. We're going to look at some buys there, but I would put two spots here. I would have two buy spots on Ethereum. The first one in this zone around 4,300 for just in case something happens, some sort of bullish narrative comes out of the space and it takes off without you. You don't want to have buy signals way down below and then all of a sudden prices take off and you missed out. Doesn't help you whatsoever. But I would split my buys here between 4,300 and looking at here on the daily chart, looking a little closer down here towards $3,900 to $3,800. That's where I'm looking at Ethereum for a pullback to buy later this week. Last things I want to talk about here in the market open. I'm going to skip SPY and Dixie for right now because I want to get into some other topics on the show today. But I did want to talk about two other things to keep an eye on. First of all, this is going to be a very important chart. Take my face off it for just a second here, Smay. This is the CME futures predictions about rate cuts. This was at 90-something% just 2 days ago. It is at 84.8% now. So it has come down, meaning people are not as certain necessarily about rate cuts in September, but 84%, that's still pretty solid. All signs are still pointing towards that happening. If we do get a rate cut in September, as long as we don't have an economic disastrous pullback where unemployment shoots up to like 10% or something, we should still be good for liquidity coming back into the space. Another thing to keep an eye on next week, if you're looking at your economic calendar, this is something every year that does affect the markets pretty heavily. It is the Jackson Hole Symposium. It'll start on Wednesday, the 20th, and they will conclude and have a big press conference with Powell Friday at 10 a.m. So be watching out for that next week. Watch for volatility to happen during the Jackson Hole Symposium, but that's something to be paying attention to as the markets continue their volatility over the next week. That's something you absolutely want to keep on your in your back pocket of understanding what the markets could do. Go up my screen here for just a second. Shrum, anything you want to kind of conclude with the market open? Anything kind of basic update information people need to know about? Maybe looking forward to next week. Maybe something else big this week. Trump meeting with Putin today. I don't know if it's going to have crazy ramifications for the markets, but that could have some. Anything you want to add to that, or any other things I'm missing out on?
Yeah, I want to make a comment there on the CME Fed tool and also what I'm seeing on poly markets. Before I do, I want to address that here at 3:30 Eastern Standard Time. So just in 10 minutes, if you're listening to the sound of my voice live, President Vladimir Putin and President Donald Trump will be meeting in a military base in Alaska, right? Set the scene, probably very cold, even in August. But there they are. They're going to be talking, and then they will hold a press conference afterwards. I don't think there's been a release time for that press conference because these are hot meetings. These are meetings that could go on for hours or just take a few minutes. Hopefully they go on longer. That we're hoping for a long meeting, right? That's what I want, because if it's a short meeting, then that means Donald Trump probably read the room and he didn't like the way that the room was reading, and he left the room, walked away from the table. If the outcome of this meeting is negative, meaning Vladimir Putin does not agree to a ceasefire, does not agree to steps towards de-escalation and ultimately peace in Eastern Europe, then I believe that this is already priced into the markets, meaning the S&P 500, largely Forex, as well as the crypto markets, meaning we may see some jitters, a quick downside movement, and maybe even a bit of a pessimistic tone going into early next week and during the weekend. But I think generally it's not going to move markets significantly to the downside if we get a negative outcome. If we get a positive outcome, I do think that there could be some significant upside as that can be parlayed into bullish sentiment around Donald Trump and his endeavors in general, which do include AI, an infrastructure build out, as well as crypto regulatory pathway and clarification. Both of those two industries would obviously benefit. We're mostly interested in crypto here, but that's kind of my read on this meeting happening up in Alaska. We're hoping for a long meeting, meaning a press conference, hopefully not until 5, maybe even 6 o'clock. And that's what I'm kind of hoping for. Lots of upside, probably not too much downside if things don't go well. This isn't really a market moving event, maybe for oil, but as much as it is for the S&P 500 and crypto, I don't think it's going to move on the outcome here.
Yeah, for any of our new listeners, maybe you're newer to investing, something to think about, and what he's kind of referencing there, Shrum, it's this concept of the market has baked in certain details of the news, and then when you see a left turn, something new happens, that can cause some price action to sway one way or the other. In this case, we've watched the escalation of Ukraine and Russia, and it just seems like the minute one side wants a ceasefire, the other side says no, and then it flip-flops, and it just doesn't look like peace is coming. The markets have kind of baked that in. The markets have gotten to a point where they're like, we don't want there to be war in Russia and Ukraine, but at the end of the day, it is what it is, and we're just going to keep going. So in this case, bad news, kind of nothing burger, right? If they walk away, no deal is met, there's frustration, nothing really bad can be added on there. We kind of are set up for only potentially good news. If it comes away, Putin agrees to a ceasefire, maybe they get closer towards some sort of peace deal, markets will respond very bullishly in that case. With that said, though, there is a comment here that I think is a great transition into the next segment of the show. Let's see here. It was from Joe Bro, and he's saying they want the markets to go down so they can buy, but everyone is holding. Very good observation. What is Joe Bro talking about here when he says they want the markets to go down? He's talking about manipulation, ladies and gentlemen. Manipulation is a part of the game. It's one of the reasons why the title and thumbnail of this video, we're talking about a trap is happening. I'm not saying the bottom is in. I'm not saying a further pullback can't happen. What I'm saying is don't be surprised. As you've seen some rumblings here today on X, I don't think people are falling for it just yet. I think it's going to get worse over the weekend. I think there's going to be a lot of people trying to convince you that the bull market top is in, that the prices are ready to go to the downside, that this is a failed bull run altogether, and we see a massive crash happening. In fact, they might even use some stuff like what I just talked about. Remember, a little bit ago, I talked about not just 8-hour sell signals, daily sell signals, but even Bitcoin and coins like XRP have sell signals on the weekly chart that could pull Bitcoin all the way back towards 100,000 or XRP all the way back down towards $2. Am I predicting that to happen? No, I'm not predicting it. I'm reading the technical analysis and saying, hey, this is a potential detail, and people are going to kind of start to run with that narrative. Why, though? Because ultimately, we're dealing with assets in the crypto space right now. Bitcoin, Ethereum, Chainlink, Sui, Ondo, you name it. These are future millionaire makers. These are future billionaire, trillionaire makers. Institutions are going to make a lot of money investing into what is still an early space. I know, I've been here for 5 years. Some of you listening might have been here for much longer than that. Bitcoin's been around for 16 years at this point, right? It doesn't feel new to us, but to the world, to the large money players, this is a young industry and they have opportunities to buy it at what they see as dirt cheap levels and send it to the upside. With that said, though, whenever the big boys get involved in playing, there comes this term manipulation. Some people on YouTube don't like to hear that term. People want to say it's just how the markets move. The markets move like they always have, under manipulation of the rich, always trying to weed out the poor. Just like a bully on the playground in the schoolyard who turns the little kid upside down and shakes him for all of his lunch money. Manipulation is a part of how markets move. The question is, do you know how to read it and anticipate it, or do you fall for every fake out? One of the reasons we teach this so heavily, and I haven't talked about this in a while, but I want to bring it up here today, share my screen. There was a man named Richard Wyckoff. Take my face down for a second because I want to read a quote from Richard Wyckoff. This is a rough caricature of what he looked like. He existed back in the early 1900s, obviously before computers and everything else, but there were still markets. There was still trading going on. He has a quote, and this quote, I haven't said this in a long time, but it's one of the biggest impacts on how I read markets and invest. And this quote comes out as him saying, all the fluctuations in the market and all the various stocks should be studied as if they were the result of one man's operations. Let us call it the composite man, who in theory sits behind the scenes and manipulates the stocks to your disadvantage if you do not understand the game as he plays it, and to your great profit if you do understand it. Let's go off this screen here for a second. Actually, there we go. 1873 to 1934. So he has not been here for quite some time. Go off even sharing my computer here, Smay. I want to talk to the people here. The composite man, you guys have heard me say this before. It's a theory based off of Richard Wyckoff's teachings of the stock market, that even though there's more than one person or entity that does this, the wealthy act as one individual called the composite man, who's constantly telling you, the retail investor, to buy when he secretly wants to sell. He's telling you to sell when he secretly wants to buy. And they work in a constant manipulation fashion to gain money in their pockets while taking all the money from yours, right? That is the concept of the composite man manipulation theory. You might be saying, Tim, what do you mean by that? Well, let's think about it. Who owns the news outlets that you get all of your information from? It's the wealthy elites, people like BlackRock, people like Fidelity, people like JP Morgan. They own the news. These wealthy individuals, they don't want to buy crypto or stocks at the tops of movements. So what do? Hey, I want to buy right now. I'm CEO of BlackRock. I'm Larry Fink. I want to buy some more cheap Ethereum. If I tell people I'm buying, the price runs up, and by the time my purchase goes out there, it's all said and done, and I have to buy real expensive prices. Better news here. I want to buy. Let me pay my news outlet. I don't remember what newspaper BlackRock owns, but they probably have involvement in almost all of them. I pay Fox, I pay CNN, I pay certain ads on X and other social media platforms. I pay them to put out this information that the stock market, that the crypto market is in dire problems at the moment and the prices are going to crash. Why? So I convince you, the retail investor, to sell your crypto thinking you're selling the top, all the while BlackRock, with that massive liquidity, knowing there's sell signals out there, they buy the asset on the cheap and then they send the price to the upside. And then when they're ready to sell, they start to pay those same media outlets, hey, tell everybody how bullish this asset is. Tell them how great it actually is right now. Convince everyone to buy so that I have liquidity. I have enough sellers to buy my supply at the top. I pocket the cash. I pocket the profit. The retail are the suckers who buy the tops. And this is a tale as old as time. It happens in crypto as well. So right now, what I'm telling you is don't be surprised if you start to see some extreme negativity and then all of a sudden prices move to the upside. I think the prices have a little bit more to go to the downside before we continue, but I want to prepare you. By the way, we have seen this happen throughout the crypto markets now. Even in the last year, this has been a classic classic manipulation tactic. Go back to my screen here, Smay. I want to show some people just what I'm talking about. If you guys don't remember, let's go back through recent events that have happened. Almost every single bottom situation we have before we skyrocketed new heights came with clashes, whether it's Israel and Iran, whether it's Israel and Palestine, whether it's President Trump here at the top. President Trump's supposed to be this great president who's going to further cryptocurrency. He gets put into office on January 20th. Crypto people should go berserk, right? The 20th was literally the top for months before Bitcoin would go to new highs. Almost thought I knocked my water off the table, so sorry for that. Manipulation happened right here. If you guys go back over here, do you remember we broke new all-time highs and the amount of outlets telling you Bitcoin heading to 100 before the end of 2024, only for the markets to be pulled back? And what was the bottom? What marked this massive wick down to 49,000? They kept telling us Japan was crashing. The Japanese carry trade was going to ruin American economy, world economy, and crypto would go plummeting back down to 20,000. What did it actually end up doing? It ended up marking the very bottom of the pullback before prices went to the upside. Time after time after time, show me a top and I'll show you a date with massive bullish sentiment from the composite man. Show me a bottom movement and I'll show you the news telling you that crashes are going to get worse and worse and worse. Manipulation in the composite man is something you absolutely have to add to your understanding of the markets. And right now, again, I'll say this once again, I'm not telling you we're going straight up from here. What I'm telling you is when you look at this chart right now, that is not a bad looking chart. When I look at the Ethereum chart and I'm zoomed out like this, that is not a bad looking chart. And yet people are going to treat this, they're going to look at these small pullbacks and you're going to start seeing negativity. That is the sign right there that whales and institutions, they want to buy, but they need liquidity from the retail investor, from weak hands, from paper hands to buy up those dips. So they'll start to breathe the negativity out there simply to buy up the dip and they get to make the money instead of you. What should you do? A little move I call being a sucker fish. Go off my screen for a second. This last thing, and we're moving to some more technical analysis here. You know, you can listen to everything I just said and say, Tim, how unfair that the wealthy get to stay wealthy and the poor get poorer. This is stupid. I don't want to play this game whatsoever. I want to go home. I want to take my ball and I want to go home. Be my guest. That's your right. That's your freedom. If you don't want to play the game of manipulation, then don't play crypto trading. Don't play stock market trading. Don't play investing. You're gonna fall for if you're gonna believe the news and every outlet out there and sentiment out there, you're gonna fall for a trap left and right. You can complain about the whales, or you can say, you know what? I'm going to be like a sucker fish who attaches myself to the whale and rides with them. When they get bullish in their news, I'm going to get bearish. When they get bearish in the news, I'm going to get bullish because I know they're doing the exact opposite of the information that they're putting out there. So if you're new here, welcome. So glad you're here. Smash subscribe, but also begin to look for that in the news. Start to look for where do I see manipulation out there? Why does everyone want me to turn my head left? What's happening actually over to the right? That's a classic tail sign from the composite man that something big is about to happen. All right. Let's take a quick break right there. I'm going to get a drink of water here. Shrum, anything you want to add in any chat you see? And we can take our time, our sweet time here, the rest of the show. We still have some other topics. Altcoins. I'm going to go through 5 altcoins that I'm buying. Where am I buying them? Why am I buying them at those levels? We'll take a look. I think we're going to skip. I think, honestly, we're going to skip number 4 again today, Shrum. I think 50 basis points at this point. Maybe we'll talk about it down the road if it comes back up. I think 50 basis points, not going to happen. And then we're going to talk a little bit of reasons why I don't think the bull market is over, just to give people some feel-good Friday news before they have their nice long weekend. Any thoughts from you about that, Shrum?
Yeah, I mean, the manipulation is real, right? Tim and I, we've been tracking these markets for months and months, for years at this point, and it's undeniable. And it's also really entertaining. Once you've been watching it for a while, you know, you start to predict these things, and it's very entertaining to see, you know, the type of interests and incentives that exist in the marketplace to try to get your money, right? To try to ultimately make you be in an emotional state when you should remain in a rational, calculated risk management state. And then you leave that state, you become emotional, and you make decisions. And a lot of retail is still in that headspace. And look, every once in a while, I'm in that headspace too, right? I'm not completely immune to emotion. Neither is Tim, neither is any pro trader. But what you should be trying to do is remove as much emotion from your trading strategy and from your trading execution as possible, right? So there's all kinds of tools, especially stop losses, take profits, things like that will help and remove the emotion altogether. You've already made the decision before you have to emotionally make the decision. So there's all kinds of trading tools to help you sort through that. One of the tools that I use, not necessarily for emotional control, but it's Polymarket. If you go to my screen really quick, Smay, you can see here Polymarket has actually dropped from 81 earlier this week down to 66% likelihood of a 25 basis point cut. So similar to what we see with the CME's Fed tool over here, printing just under 85% likelihood, right? The Fed is seeing 66% likelihood. The Fed Polymarket is seeing 66, down from 81 earlier this week. Still hanging on by a thread. You are getting a 3% print here for a 50 basis point cut. So more spreads that are interesting, and they'll throw it back to you, Tim. But this one's pretty interesting. So the August unemployment rate, these prints in September, it'll print September 5th. This one currently is that it'll come out at 4.2%. 4.3 is the top percentage likelihood, which is interesting. The previous print for unemployment was 4.2. So essentially this spread is thinking that unemployment will tick up. We want unemployment to tick up as risk holders. As people who are employed, you don't want employment to tick up, obviously. But just as a cold market calculation, that is something to consider. And then the August inflation will print on September 11th. And that is currently kind of tied for 2.9 or 2.8. So the previous inflation print was 2.7. So it's scheduled to continue to move higher. But what we don't want is that to move higher at a rate that the market was not predicting. And so far, Polymarket is predicting that that is the case. So September 5th, September 11th, unemployment and inflation, those will print before September 17th, which is the FOMC decision. I tuned in to watch crypto. What the heck is all this FOMC, Federal Reserve talk? Unfortunately, we still live in a world where the Federal Reserve controls the dominant fiat money supply of the dollar. Yeah. You have to pay attention to it. If you deny that, you should not be investing. You should not be trading. Definitely not trading. It's just a reality we live in. Hopefully, we won't have to live in that reality too much longer, and the Fed will just be completely dissolved. But until that day, we have all these tools to stay locked in and remove emotion from our investing and trading.
100%, Shrum. Thank you for that. Let's get into some altcoin technical analysis here. We're going to do 5 coins. Now, sometimes I'll let you guys choose the coins. In the future, I'll let you choose the coins. If you want to have your technical analysis done on your coin, make sure to check out our VIP trading group every single day. I've been taking a break here, spending more time with the family as we just had our second child, but normally I'm in there several times a day. We have other pro traders doing live trading setups where you can ask them to do technical analysis on certain coins. You can ask them for trade setups. What are you seeing here? Where are you thinking to buy? Where are you thinking to sell? All that over in our VIP trading group. And what's even better, if you join the Academy section, you can actually learn from videos how to do this technical analysis for yourself. Go check out the VIP trading group right now. We've helped thousands of people over there. You could be next. Go sign up in the link down below. Let's start off with Chainlink. You guys know I love Chainlink. More recently, millions of people have been joining me. I mean, the Chainlink bullishness over the last little bit here has been ridiculous. I mean, I was called the Chainlink crazy analyst months ago, years ago, when I told you over 2 years ago, don't be surprised if Chainlink is closer to $100 to $300, if not $700 in super bullish scenarios. I'm hearing people talk about $1,000, $1,500 on Chainlink right now. That's a little bit too bullish for me. That's way too high. But I think that Chainlink is on a run and it's going to continue. Just a little pullback coming here at the moment. You can see out here on the daily chart, we are getting a bearish divergence call here. What this means is that the oscillators and the RSI and the Lux Algo movements, they've put in lower highs, and the higher highs in the price action gives us a different movement, a divergence of price action to oscillator action. And therefore, a lot of times you do need a small correction there. Just yesterday, we talked about the 8-hour smart trail sell signal coming in here, red reversal, bearish momentum, negative money flow right there. And I told people, hey, I'm going to be putting in a buy order here on Chainlink somewhere in this world here around 2120, give or take. I still have that buy signal in play. But of course, as we are dropping, you always want to monitor what the higher charts are saying. And again, we got that confirmation of daily bearish divergence. We also have a large gray dot. And now, as of today, negative money flow is coming in here on Chainlink, which means while I still will buy at 2120 because I think that's a very realistic shorter term target, there's still a chance that a daily sell signal brings us all the way back down sub $20, heck, sub $18, somewhere to the daily smart trail between 18 and 1645. A lot of you do not want to hear that. A lot of you hate that. Once again, though, if you are freaking out, let's just zoom out before you freak out there. Just a little bit ago here back in June, we were all the way down at $10. What does that mean? It means that's not even taking us down towards the golden pocket. The reality is that daily charts more realistically around a 0.382 level. Very, very bullish. All rallies have higher lows as well. Do not be surprised whatsoever if that is in the play here as well. On a shorter time frame, what I would take a look at is the golden pocket here. There you go, top of that smart trail, somewhere in this range of 1815, 1810. That golden pocket on a shorter time frame should be very, very interesting. So buy some here. Again, you don't have to do anything. Actually, I'm not a financial advisor. You do what you want to do. I'm buying some at 2120, and I'll be buying some more here around 1815 at that golden pocket level for Chainlink, okay? I think there's also going to be some liquidity in those same zones as well. Chase some longs, liquidate some longs, and then boom, we're heading back to the upside. All the more reason to have buy levels at those places. Another coin I want to take a look at here. Used to get a lot of love, and it's still a great coin with a lot of future. It's just people haven't been talking about it as much here more recently. You got to go over here and take a look at Sui. Sui is kind of bouncing right here around a former support level. This is one absolutely on the 8-hour time frame. We were looking at this and saying, hey, buying at 361, 362. I got my buy signals triggered today on this as we have come down and touched these levels. We're back down just kind of moving alongside former resistance. Are we turning to support here? That's going to be very important here. We had that sell signal on the 8-hour chart. It's good to go here now. The good news here is we're not necessarily seeing a strong daily sell signal whatsoever. There was no red reversal back in here. This red reversal played out long before. So no strong daily sell signal, and we're below that daily smart trail. So for me, while I like this level here on 360, I'm going to also take a look at some other things here. I would say if we start to drop further, my best guess is you're coming back down here towards an equilibrium level, according to signals and overlays. You're going to see liquidity in this spot, depending on what time frame you're looking at. I think back here, there we go. Order blocks and liquidity coming in down here at 338. That would be my next spot on Sui to be keeping an eye on if you're looking to buy the dip. And the dip gets a little further down than we thought it would. But right now, sitting on some great support. If you told me, Tim, I'm buying Sui right here at 366, I think that's a great spot to be adding to your bags, just in case the rally starts this weekend. But there you go, 335 and 366 for Sui. Let's take a look at a couple other coins here. Let's go to ONDO. Now, ONDO got back up over $1. It's back down below here at 97 cents. Just like Sui, we bounced off that daily smart trail. We don't have, well, actually, this one is a little better. You do kind of have verified sell signal here. Red reversal, bearish momentum, negative money flow here. So a lower position to keep an eye on here for ONDO. We got to look down here. Big breaker block coming in around 91 to 86 cents. I always like to kind of go a little bit below here. Probably around 90 cents is my lower target right now for ONDO. Shorter term target, though, again, I told people buy at the 8-hour smart trail. I bought here today around 98 cents. So I'm already slightly in loss on that pickup there, but I wanted to make sure I'm in just in case the 8-hour sell signals that got hit are the bottoms and take off. Otherwise, if we keep dropping, daily chart here, again, 90 cents, very interesting spot for ONDO to keep some support. We bounced on those kind of levels back here on August 2nd. I think we do it once again if the bears start going a little bit more aggressive. Let's go to Cardano here. Cardano, some people are sleeping on it. It hit up over $1 over yesterday. It hit over $1.01. It's not a bad looking chart right here. Even on the day, it's still technically bullish on the candle. That being said, it's not unlike the others. The 8-hour sell signal is still in play. We have not even come anywhere close to this one yet. So I'm still going to say 85 cents, 86 cents is a very interesting spot right now for Cardano. No liquidity, no liquidations necessarily in that spot, but it is something to keep an eye on. And then you're over here and you're looking at the daily chart. We haven't triggered one yet. We did have a red reversal signal come in here earlier. If this money flow goes negative and we keep dropping, that could be a play. in which case we're looking back down towards 74 cents. Would hate to see that. People get very discouraged, but it's something just to be aware of. But for now, I don't know if I'm putting buy signals down there. I think we still have enough room to go with the 8-hour smart trail to say that 85 to 82 cents, very good spot to keep an eye on to acquire more Cardano if you're looking to add to your bags on that coin. Once again, just want to keep you guys encouraged. This Fibonacci from this big pullback back earlier in August, we're talking about only coming back down here towards the 0.5, not even going back down to the golden pocket. Very, very bullish there for Cardano, even if we pull back down that far. Last one, hot coin of the week. It's still up at $1.35 here, but AERO Finance. My screen's going to load here. AERO Finance is another coin to keep an eye on. This is one actually, we got a fresh sell signal here on the 8-hour time frame. That MACD is just now crossing bearish. Clearly, we had some bearish divergence. Now we have that red reversal, bearish momentum, and the negative money flow. So very similar to Cardano. I don't think we're going all the way down to the daily smart trail. This is one to keep an eye on the 8-hour, and we're looking at 118 range. This could actually keep on climbing. So I want to find some cross-reference stuff here. Big liquidity right here. Okay, so that's going to be at 119, 118 range is where that smart trail is climbing to. What I'll go ahead and just say here is if we drop further, 105, 104 is going to be your next spot in AERO where there is a pocket of long liquidity. Once again, though, just keeping you guys focused because some of you are going to say, Tim, that's a massive pullback. Go back. Early August right here on the 5th. What does that look like? That is a simple pullback back down to the 0.5 level, not even a golden pocket revisit, should those liquidity levels be taken out. These coins are still very, very bullish, but even in bull markets, things get a little overextended, pullbacks happen. That is where, again, I'm not telling you guys what to do. I just went through 5 coins that I really love. I like these coins. I want to keep acquiring them. These are where I'm going to be buying over the weekend or early next week should we get down to those levels. Otherwise, I got a lot of money already in the bags with these coins. I'm going to enjoy a bull run if I'm wrong and we shoot up over the weekend. But I think a little bit more blood in the streets before we continue up. That's my take right there. Shrum, 347. We have a couple more things to talk about here. Anything from you? Any coins you're looking to buy here over the weekend or early next week? Are you kind of sitting out? You've bought your coins at this point. You're trying to wait till the dust clears.
The bros who've been watching the morning coverage that I do every morning at 10:30 Eastern Standard Time in the Discord know that I liquidated a lot of swing trades, meaning I took profit. I shouldn't have said liquidated. I took profit on a lot of swing trades. I'm sitting on a decent amount of cash. It ended up being a good choice. For about 2 days, I doubted myself as Ethereum kept pushing higher, but now I am glad that I stayed in cash. I am looking to buy, right? I'm looking to buy. So far, I think like many folks in the market, I'm not convinced that this is where we've bottomed out. I think Ethereum and Bitcoin need to test lower. Crypto, after all, is a very volatile asset class. So I'm thinking Solana. Solana is kind of the one that I do want to buy more of. I don't think that it's pulled back enough here, though. So yeah, Solana is the one I have in my crosshairs, and I'm definitely looking to buy more below 200 if I can.
Yeah, I would say, we're below 200 here for sure. Go to my screen. We'll do that one for you here, Shrum, and everybody else. 8-hour sell signal. Oops, sorry, I hit the wrong one. That's 12-hour. 8-hour sell signal here in play. Let me go back. There we go. Bearish reversal, bearish momentum, negative money flow. So 8-hour pretty safe. We've hit the first level of that here on 184. You could stay here and wait for 180 and still be in that camp. We don't really have a sell signal necessarily on the daily chart just yet. There was no red reversal in play. We also rejected there. So there's 2 things I would look at. Either number one, the 12-hour around 177 to 171, or better yet, as that daily chart is showing some weakness. 170 is the equilibrium. Big pocket right in here. Let's look at liquidity real quickly. Yeah, a little bit of liquidity coming here on 171. So I would be a buyer here around 180 as my next buy, but 180 and 170, 171, I think if you want to be very, very on point there, 180 and 171, probably 2 good buy spots for Solana if you're looking to pick some up. And again, you're sitting on some cash. So I'm assuming you sold up here. So even if we go lower, that's still a better option. You sold some SOL up here at 200. If you buy some down here at 170, even if we drop back down lower towards 160, you're still sitting in a better spot with more Solana than you had earlier this week. So great stuff happening there. That's going to wrap up the altcoin technical analysis for now. Now we're at 334 likes. I told people earlier, people have been asking, what is Tim doing in the weight room? What is Tim lifting right now? I'll tell you guys what's happening if we get to 500 likes. We're honestly probably a little closer than I thought we were going to be at this point. We have 844 people watching, 334. We can definitely get to 500 likes. So if you guys want to see that wrap out the show for this Friday, you want to hear about some weight room stuff from Tim. Some of you don't care. Some of you do care. Smash the like button either way. I want to kind of wrap up the last conversation we had planned here for the day. And that is ultimately, we talked a lot about pullbacks here in the show. We've talked about big moves coming back down. But we've also talked about manipulation. And ultimately, if we're going to be moving down, these moves to come down are simply great opportunities to buy the dips. And if you need more reason to buy the dip, I want to share with you guys 4 big reasons that I'm not bearish whatsoever. And I think the bull market top is very far from being over. If you're ready for that, let's go ahead and go back over to my screen. Let me clear this up. I'm going to go through those 4 big reasons. There's lots of reasons, but these are the 4 main ones that I am not convinced that the bull market is over whatsoever. Let's start off with one indicator. I wanted to show this earlier, but I told you I'd save it for the end of the show. It is the global M2 money supply. I talk about this all the time, but guess what? We're going to talk about it again. Global M2 money supply. We have been following this so crazy, eerily similar. It's a 90-day ahead of time period, meaning we seem to follow in the crypto and stock market realm. We follow 90 days behind what we're seeing completely happen with the power of the dollar and the M2 money supply, to be specifically. And what this is suggesting still, if you believe in this theory, this is suggesting that we still have bullish momentum at least here until the end of September. What happens after that? We're still foggy. It looks like we have a little bit of consolidation, small pullback happening throughout the rest of October and possibly into November, it looks like, right? So we could have a very kind of sideways and bearish October. But right now, it's suggesting we still have big upside moves. We're still following this thing very eerily. You can see here when you line up the price action with the blue line, it talked about a little small correction coming in before continuing to the upside. So we're still right on track. This indicator has shown me several times where other indicators say bearish, this indicator says bullish, we go bullish. There's been other times where this indicator says bearish, other indicators say bullish, we go bearish. I'm a believer in the M2 money supply, and it's telling me bullish until the end of September. I'm going to stick with it. Another thing that we're watching, we just talked about this more on the show the other day, but Google Trends. Take my face off the screen here so people can fully appreciate this, Smay. Google Trends are still suggesting we are far from the top, right? If you look at large tops in the cycles, this is the last 5 years, these top signals where we get to 100%, these are the levels where you see major corrections. We're talking about May of 2021. We're talking about this one over here. I think this was the November one back in here. Boom, right in here. November of 2021. Other big collapses happened. We had small pumps that happened throughout 2022. Big collapse here. Then other local tops, March of 2024, and over here in November of 2024. Both of those ended up being some local tops here. And the Google Trends showed us, hey, we're not very high. We're still trending the right direction. That's bullish. Until we get back up here above 75, I'm not bearish whatsoever. What's even greater, though, is the prediction when you look at keywords like crypto. Crypto is trending up and has predictions over the next couple of months to continue to trend to highs we have not seen since all the way back here in 2021, right? When you go even deeper and you take a look at altcoins overall on Google Trends, altcoins are projecting that we're going to hit the all-time high for searches in the next couple of months. We still have a long way to go to the upside. Google still suggesting that we are bullish right now and we have not hit the peak. I told you guys earlier, another reason, if you want to bring my face back on here, Smay, another reason is when you look at the Bitcoin dominance chart, right? If Bitcoin dominance was skyrocketing right now, if we were shooting back up and heading back towards all-time highs, I'd be very concerned because people are dumping their risky alts, even Bitcoin. But instead, as everything's pulling back, Bitcoin seems to be the biggest loser. Altcoins not having as big of a hit. Bitcoin dominance is still trending down. This is very, very bullish. And the last and fourth reason why I am bullish is because another major indicator that we look at all the time here, where is it? Oh, did I not pull it up? Give me a second here. I apologize. I did not grab it correctly. This is rookie details right here. I got to go over here to this channel, the Coinbase app rank bot. An X account I love to follow. And one of the reasons why is because at the tops of bull markets or the tops of trends, we will see we'll see Coinbase, climb to the top of the app store. And right now, if you take a look at what Coinbase is looking like, when you look at all apps all together, it's at 200 is it 233 or maybe it's 229 is down 200, I don't know. It's at 233 is what it really is. 233. Even in finance apps, it's only at number 17, right? So we got a long time before this is the top. Why is this such a good signal? Because we're not going to see a top where whales are the ones that lose out on. They have to have someone to sell to. That means they need newer retail investors or suckers to come in and buy the top signals. Well, how do they buy it? They go download apps like Coinbase and they buy in bulk. That skyrockets Coinbase at the top of the App Store, and it signals to the markets, hey, the suckers are here. Sell off your crypto. Let them buy the top. We'll come back and buy it later. That is not happening here whatsoever. We are nowhere close. So for those reasons, guys, the bull market does not appear whatsoever to be at the top. There's probably 100 other things I could bring up and tell you why the bull market top is not in. But to me, those are the four biggest. Global M2 money supply says we keep going higher. Google trends say we keep going higher. The Bitcoin dominance trend is going to the downside. And Coinbase still extremely low rankings in the App Store. We got a lot of money to make over the next couple of months. And again, I believe probably the next year and some change before the next major reversal and bear market movement. Smash the like if you guys enjoyed this show here so far. We got a couple minutes left here. What are we at? 410 likes, which means we will not be talking about the weight room here today. But I'll tell you what, we'll give you a little teaser. We'll bring Smay back on here. Smay, what are your PR weight room sets here? We'll give the people a little bit of weight room talk.
Can I tell you, Tim? I have no idea. I have never really tried.
Because you're that strong. You've never lifted a weight that wasn't easy for you, is what you're saying.
Exactly. That's exactly what I'm saying. But no, I've and some people are doubting me. I do go to the gym, okay? But as far as going for PRs, I don't do that. That's not the kind of weightlifter I've ever been. So
too much of an ego thing for you.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
I don't need that. I need more reasons to be humble. Okay?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Anyways.
Very good stuff. What's your favorite exercise at the gym? We'll go there. What's your favorite thing to do at the gym?
For me personally?
Yeah.
Okay, as opposed to me not personally. I'll say this. I think my favorite in the gym is it's funny enough actually. A lot of people, this is not your favorite. I love squats. I love squats.
Really?
I love squats.
I remember
favorite. One of my favorite pastimes, and it's so sad we haven't been able to do this since we don't live around each other anymore. But me and Tim back in the day used to go to the gym every morning together. Every time it was leg day, I loved it. I loved leg day for some reason. I don't know why. And then that's in terms of the weight. What do I do the most often? I like doing the high incline treadmill, the 12-3-30, that stuff.
Treadmill.
Treadmill.
You call it the treadmill because you eat it up.
That's it.
I've got some somewhat breaking news to share with you all. Interesting thoughts. This will be my closing kind of send off into the weekend for you all. This is what you can ponder. You go over to my screen here. BlackRock Chief Executive Larry Fink appointed interim chair of the World Economic Forum. So there you go. That's some good fodder for some conspiracy theories the rest of this weekend. Update here on the press briefing, the Pursuing Peace press briefing there in Alaska. They, as you can tell, that is not Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump, but they are setting up the cameras, setting up the mics. This could be a very, you can go off me now. This could be a very historic press briefing, guys. I mean, we could potentially see Donald Trump brokering peace once and for all there. Maybe not once and for all, but for a significant amount of people after a absolutely devastating conflict that has taken, unfortunately, many lives. I mean, this could be a very historic moment. In America, we don't really feel it as much, but obviously if you're in Eastern Europe, this has been a huge part of your life for you going on years at this point.
I remember back in 2021. I mean, you were live shortly after it all started, and it was a huge thing. So yeah, I mean, again, we talked about this earlier in the show. If you guys missed it, the good news about this headline is we've kind of baked into the markets now that we're not going to get good news anytime soon. So let's say they don't have any discussion. They don't really say anything new. Nothing really happens. But if they come out and say, we have agreed to a peace deal, peace terms, we're going to start to de-escalate the tensions between Russia and Ukraine, that could be one of the things that sends the markets back up. That could absolutely be, we talked about earlier, the manipulation of it all. They're convincing people to sell off, sell off, sell off. There's a lot of people right now in shorts. There's a lot of people right now selling their crypto, thinking they just sold the top. And all of a sudden, you had those reports earlier coming out this week, Besant saying, we're not going to buy Bitcoin, talking about the U.S. government. You've had some other things that kind of brought some discouragement in the space. You saw recent inflation numbers not really hit what you want. There's a lot of bearishness going on right now. It would be the perfect time for a flipperoo, some news to come out. Secretly, it actually turns out a lot of large entities buying the last couple of days, and we take off to the upside. I'll be honest with you. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't predict that's going to happen. What I would say, I believe, is we're probably in for a volatile / sideways, maybe downward weekend. But then look out for what happens sometime next week. Next week could hold a lot of keys as we do start the Jackson Symposium next week. Next week could have a lot of keys to reignite a bull run. I think the August closes bullish, but the pain might not be over just yet. Let us know in the comments down below. What do you think right now? Are you buying these dips? Are you waiting for a little bit lower to come? Do you think the bull market top is over? Let us know your thoughts. We will see you guys again on Monday at 3 p.m. for another live show. With that said, though, see you there. Adios.